And they're going rampantly ahead. You know, all these programs on television, I don't watch television, but people email me all the time about this channel of showing what that channel is showing. I mentioned a BBC 4 radio show where they brought eugenics up to the fore by a high chutzpah in the eugenics field, an authorized one, for the crown, basically, you might say, in so many words. And they openly discussed, you know, sterilizing the unfit. The same old stuff they were doing at the beginning of the 20th century with the Rockefeller Foundation, which never stopped, by the way, in Cold Springs. But this article here is about the Cargill and Gates Foundation. Remember, it's through foundations that bypass governments and then eventually make partnerships with governments because they're told to. And so the governments are told to by the guys who own the foundations and the governments. So the Gates Foundation Cargill paper, it says, September 2010. It's the 1st of September. And you can download this whole paper, as they call it here, a PDF form. Soya, they went into soya big time for Africa, you see. And it's Gates Foundation and Cargill paper project. The soya models implies a war against the population, the emptying of the countryside, and an elimination of our collective memory in order to shoehorn people into towns and convert them into faithful consumers of whatever the market provides. The impacts of this model go beyond the borders of the new soya republics. The dehumanization of agriculture and the depopulation of rural areas for the benefit of the corporations is increasing in the north and in the south. That was Javiera Rulli in United Soya Republics, the truth and about soya production in Latin America. But they're going into Africa big time now. And I'll touch on soya and what it does to you, because it bioengineers you into picking flowers if you're a guy. Back with more after these messages. Hi folks, I am back and we're cutting through the matrix. Talk about soya too. One of the many things that were weaponized a long time ago, and I mean weaponized. If you want to take down populations and bring down the populations, and remember too, Rockefeller and one of their partnerships recently released a report that called for it was rapid depopulation as opposed to the slow takedown of sterilization. Rapid depopulation they called for. And remember, these philanthropists like the Gates and all the rest of it are in with Oprah and all the other philanthropists, you see. They're banded together, put incredible sums of money, which they float on the stock market into their green projects, which happen to be aimed mainly at third world countries, and it's all to bring down their fertility rates. That's their main concern. That was mentioned at some of the meetings they had in the States, the same club, you see, the Gates and Oprah and all the rest of them. Overpopulation was their biggest concern. Here they are into other fields supposedly to be made superstars and get big followings. And once they've made them superstars, they come out with a political agenda that's always the same agenda. Isn't that a coincidence, eh? Anyway, soya. And here's from an article when the mainstream media eventually started to pick it up. They ignored the reports for years. This is from Sunday, the 7th November 2004 from The Observer. It says, on a clear winter morning in Belfast, Dr. Lorraine Anderson was nearing the end of her doctorate research project. She spent weeks hunched over the microscope looking at samples of sperm. But whatever turns you on, I guess. Anderson was trying to figure out what made some sperm move slower than others. As a specialist in reproductive medicine at Belfast Royal Maternity Hospital, she was particularly interested in why some samples moved so sluggishly that they would have trouble reaching the fertilizing an egg. It says she knew that a sperm's motility, as they call it, that's how its movement can move, was one of the critical factors in fertility. It doesn't matter how many sperm a man's got. If they can't get from A to B, there's little chance of reproduction, she says. And remember, too, that's the same for bisphenol A. That also does it. It's in all your plastics and your water and all the rest of it. Massive attack going on for years. Anyway, Anderson's eureka moment arrived when a complex analysis of the samples she was working on revealed that the seminal liquid surrounding the slower-moving sperm contained chemicals called isoflavones. These compounds are also known as phytoestrogens or plant estrogens. They're synthetic estrogens, because they mimic estrogen, the powerful female hormone. Remember they made a big push, oh, got to eat soya, it's better for your health, blah, blah, blah. Well, from their point of view at the top, it was. We'd all start getting sterilized, and that was better for our health according to them. These highly active compounds are found in large concentrations of soya. Indeed, such are the doses of these chemicals. A woman drinking 2 glasses of soya milk a day over the course of a month will see the timing of her menstrual cycle alter. It's been estimated that infants who are fed soya formula exclusively receive an amount of estrogen equivalent to 5 birth control pills every day. And you wonder why you have all these men's clubs about them. Should I say men's clubs, eh? And lots of ones who don't really know. This is war. This is all the effects of war. You're seeing the fallout of a planned long-term war. It says, for a growing number of scientists, the question is this: if such a strong biologically active compound is found in soya, what is its effect on humans regularly eating or drinking products made from the bean? Well, you ask the guys who designed it, because it was designed to do exactly what it's done, you see. Now, the thing is, too, the food industry has packed everything with soya as a kind of filler, a bulk thing. And it says it's wasting no time in extolling soya's alleged health benefits. Oh, it's healthy for you according to the food industry. Claiming it can lower cholesterol, help with menopause system, ward off osteoporosis, and even reduce the risk of some cancers. Utter rubbish. Unfounded rubbish. However, aside from research linking soya to reduce male fertility, studies now link the phytoestrogens found in the plant to an increased risk of other types of cancer. It's also been claimed that it damages brain function in men. Isn't that awfully handy? The brain function in men is who's the big target when it comes to fighting back against something? Men. I've told you this for years. And it says it's also causing hidden developmental abnormalities in infants. Some even attribute early onset of puberty in Western women to the spread of soya in diets. So the research shows that more soya a man eats, she believes, the more difficulty he will have in fertilizing an egg. The fastest growing industry in the West, and has been for years, are fertility clinics. They can't conceive because the men's sperm has been under warfare, and that's that. But it's not just that. They had different tracks for different folks, you might say. Because in Africa, apart from the AIDS and all the rest of it that suddenly broke out after the UN inoculations were across there, you find that you have different things that trying in Africa, different plants, for instance. Cottonseed is one of them. And from that particular plant as well, they found it has the same effect as soya. It kills off the sperm, destroys it, and so on. But it also might cause damage to the brain. So it's awfully handy. Awfully handy. People will never forget that you're really living under warfare. And if you want to eat stacks of soya, just go for fast foods. It's packed with it as a filler. Even the pills that you take, even a lot of the healthcare pills, use soya flour as the bulk of it to bulk it up. It's in everything. But folk love their fast food. It's like everything else. It's so convenient, eh? Back with more after these messages. Hi folks, I'm Alan Watt. We're cutting through the matrix. It's astonishing really that when people wake up, they can't, they freak out actually if they do start to wake up. First it starts with a suspicion something's wrong, and then they might take something personally. Well, that stuff might kill me, I better not eat it. Then they chat to others, and of course that leads to other things that are happening in the world. And some of them get petrified, utterly petrified. Other ones start buying more health stuff to try and stay alive forever. It's astonishing how different people react to the bad news. Because you're under warfare. What do you think government is? And what do you think governance is? What do you think governance is? There's never been a time in history where government served the people. It's never happened. It's never happened. If it happened for a day after a revolution, believe you me, it didn't last very long. Because the same sharks are right in there. And then you go and use the same system of money and all the rest of it they used before, with the same guys in charge, and bingo, you're back to square one again. People can't think their way out of it at all. Because to do anything at all, you'd have to literally stop all the system that's over you right now. You have to stop it in its tracks. and literally go through a period of chaos as everything was reasserted in a different fashion. So everyone can bitch as much as they want and complain and yell. Doesn't change it. They're rampaging ahead all the time. Very blatantly now, too. Now, I mentioned this character before. He's the director of the university's Prevention Research Center at, I think it's Yale University, David Katz. David Katz, a real scratchy guy. You don't want to get near him. But he's on about overpopulation. This is his thing, you see. They're paid to do that. Remember, academia is a big part of governance today, and to bring about the century of change that we're living through right now. They get paid big bucks to, mind you too, the big foundation guys put guys like this in there, along with their grants. You know, they suggest who should be professors and what they should teach. So anyway, overpopulation, 9 billion things to talk about, he says. And he says, any gardener knows that to solve a weedy problem, you've got to get at its roots. We in preventative medicine know that too, or certainly should. Our eyes were opened in this enlightened thinking by McGuinness and Foig in 1993. And they give you the usual stuff. Oh, this can cause premature death and disease and so on, smoking, yada, 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 like an exercise. Then of course, that's how they get you into, yeah, I guess that's true. Then you lead into the next part. The evidence that they were right has only accumulated since. I originally invoked this literature to note that feet, forks, and fingers are the master levers of medical destiny, as regular visitors here well know. It says, viewed differently, bad use of feet, forks, and fingers are the major causes of chronic disease. But these are the proximal causes, not the root causes. The root cause is modern living. Everything about modern living that makes it modern, processed food, suburban sprawl. Oh, they always bring the sprawl into you know, I've heard that since the 60s. They hate sprawl, you know. Folk not living in the anthills they're supposed to be living in. They go out into urban areas and spread out. Labor-saving technology, mass media marketing is obesogenic and conducive to the insalubrious application of feet and forks. Anyway, he's trying to combine this little comical thing into where he's really going. We'll get to it eventually after this. That's what these guys get paid for, prattling on like that, you see, conning into associations. Well, if this causes that, then this over here will cause that too, you see, or worse. So he goes on about eggs and the 5 million eggs that are supposed to have been recalled in the U.S. due to salmonella contamination. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe they were. Proximal causes have much to do with modern farming and food handling techniques and something to do with FDA resource limitations. But what about the root cause? And how about the drought in Russia leading to massive crop failures? Like they've never had droughts in Russia in history before. Inundation in Pakistan, which happens every year, leading to massive displacement of the population. Flooding in China, which happens every year too. And while we're at it, accelerated melting of the polar ice. There he goes again with the same rubbish that's been discredited so many times over, with ramifications we are still guessing at. So you know who he works for, the big boys, eh? He says the root cause that connects it all is global population growth. Global population growth. So they went from that and bad fingers and all the rest of it to population growth as a cause of all the world's ills. Right? This particular topic has something of a wins factor for me, father of 5. Yeah, but you're special people, you know, you inbreed, don't you? And you make sure that, you know, it's a right eugenical background. Anyway, I'll carry on what he's saying here. But former drug users often make the best addiction counselors, and some of the top obesity experts struggle with their own weight. That would also mean that the best mass murderers make the best executioners for the government. So that was me tying that in by association as well. I suppose I can come clean about population pressures despite having done such a poor job of keeping my own genes to myself. He raises this issue because it's ominously absent from almost all discussion of global warming and climate change. Well, it's time they bring it in, isn't it? Let's bring it in, isn't it? Modern industrial agricultural practices and the propagation and transmission of both infectious and chronic disease. This is odd and worrisome. It suggests that either obliviousness, fatalism, or capitulation, and none of these is good.